Found out my husband was in love with his friend, so I made her my best friend and now he has no one. Plus update. This happened a while back and names are changed for privacy purposes. All ages are at the time it happened. My female 27 husband, male 30, of 5 years, Steve, had a female best friend long before we met. We'll call her Amy. I met Amy pretty early on in the relationship and thought the girl best friend thing was kind of weird, but she seemed cool. I wasn't interested in a friendship between her and I, but I figured we could be civil. Steve had other friends, but more text every now and then friends. Amy was the only one he saw in person often. She even included me on activities occasionally. Movie nights at her house or trips to the park, etc. I felt more secure because of how kind she was. The security washed down the drain every time it sprung up though. Steve always looked at Amy in a way he never looked at me. He seemed so genuinely happy when she talked, more animated and excited, etc. He also tried to get me to cut my hair to be more like hers at one point and dye it a natural color. Amy had shoulder-length brown hair, beautiful on her but not the look for me. I had longish hair that I frequently dyed fun colors. He would also drop plans with me at the drop of the hat if the opportunity to spend time with Amy came up. Not every time, but one that stands out from memory is when we were about to take a trip to visit my family. A full-day trip if we don't stop anywhere on the way. And before we left, he texted Amy to see what she was doing that day. She said nothing, and he insisted we stop by to see her before we go. Amy did not know our plans. We ended up spending the whole day there, so I rescheduled my family visit. If I had been more vocal at the time, maybe it would have been different. But I didn't, and still don't, like arguing in front of people. And bringing it up in front of Amy felt mortifying at the time. I chalked it up to me being too self-conscious and over-worrying. Steve wasn't outright cruel to me or anything, but the little things and comments tore me down. This went on for our whole marriage. One night, Steve and I were drinking at home and watching bad Christmas movies, The Ginger Dead Man and such. I got in my feelings out of nowhere, as I often do when drunk, and asked him if he ever had feelings for Amy. He admitted to it. Said he tried to get her to be with him multiple times since middle school and she always rejected him. I asked that if she wanted to be together, if he would want to be with her instead of me. He said something along the lines of, "Stop making up hypothetical questions like that. That'll just hurt your feelings." I cried. We fought. I told him to leave and he called Amy and asked her to pick him up. When she got there, I, drunk as a skunk, went outside and in a not friendly way accused her of ruining my marriage knowingly. There was a three-way heated argument that I'm fuzzy on details of because A, I was drunk, B, even if sober, when I'm in a heated argument I tend to erase things, and C, this didn't exactly happen yesterday. At the end of it, Amy ended up taking Steve to his mom's house. She came back to me sitting in the yard crying. This is already too long, so I'll skip ahead a bit. Amy knew vaguely that Steve had feelings for her but thought it was a weird crush that would go away. She liked me, but thought I was cold so didn't try to force a friendship. She didn't know a lot of the stuff Steve had said to me as far as comparing me to her and was angry about it when she learned. She let him know that she wasn't and never would be interested in him romantically. He said he understood. Steve and I then did a temporary separation that led to divorce. Amy and I became friends. She was and is a great friend to me, almost worth everything Steve put me through. She's the sister I never had. She is still friends with Steve, but in the text every now and then way. I'm more self-confident now. No real long-term relationship since the divorce, but now I'm invited to every movie night and trivia game and camping trip with Amy, so I'm not at all bothered by the lack of romantic partner. Sorry this was long. A little rushed at the end because I realized it was getting book length. Thanks for reading if you did. If you're married to a Steve, there are better things out there for you, darling. Now for the top comments before the mini update. Honestly don't understand why people marry someone else when they're in love with not the person they're marrying. Boggles my freaking brain. Glad you got out, OP. Would have been heartbreaking at the time, but you got the better outcome with a trusty friend. Fear of being alone and having a placeholder. This was uplifting, surprisingly. So you don't feel bad for Steve then? I kind of feel sorry for him, but not in a way that thinks you should regret anything because it all happened very naturally. I just feel you can't help how you feel, but he was bad at hiding it, if he even tried. To put it the best way I can, the reason I don't feel bad for Steve is because I realized he did this to himself. I loved him. He didn't love me. I left. I'm happier now. Worked on myself and didn't stay miserable. He loved Amy. Amy didn't love him. He clung around and made not only himself miserable, but also me for a while. Did he say he didn't love you? Or did you just interpret his, according to your own story, actual answer of, I've always had feelings for her and I'd want to be with her if we weren't together, as him not caring about you? I think a lot of people fool themselves into thinking they are the only one for their partner, and then make rash decisions when they find out that they've fallen in love before. Everyone settles, and statistically, it's highly probable you'd be someone's first and only choice. But congratulations on letting jealousy of a friendship that has existed for longer than your entire knowledge of this guy's existence mess up a marriage that, judging by your lack of complaints of the contrary, seemed perfectly fine. Oh, and Amy is a horrible friend. I'm laughing at the y'all should be together comments because you kinda do deserve each other. I understand what you mean, and maybe I wasn't super clear. And maybe if I was, you would still have the same opinion. I'm not upset that he had feelings for Amy. Someone else commented, and I agree I can't control who you have feelings for. But I feel the way everything went down. Marrying me without ever telling me he had feelings, constantly putting me as wife on the back burner, making me feel like a second-place trophy even before I knew about his feelings for her, trying to get me to change my looks to be more like her, etc. was not how I deserved to be treated and was scummy looking back. If it was me today, I would never let any of that happen, let alone how long I let it happen. And if Amy had chosen to remain as close to him, I don't know if we would be as close. I want to say yes because of how we are now, but right in the middle of everything, I probably would have just called it a wash and not talked to her. If tomorrow she decides she wants to be close with him again, I wouldn't try to stop her. I wouldn't be around him, even if that makes me seem like a bitter child. It would have to be separate visits at separate times, etc. But I wouldn't want to lose her over it. Did I forget something and write this myself? Lol. I totally had an Amy in my life who was my best friend. Description of us matches perfectly. The hairdo, and I even cut mine to be like her. Unfortunately, my Steve ran away with her after having an affair for like most of our 7-year relationship. LMAO. She turned out to be a massive jerk to me near the end. Neither of them have friends because of what they did. Maybe like 2, but they're also crappy people. I found the gaslighting and the "there's nothing going on between us. Why would you think that? Why would you ask something that'll hurt you?" type answers the freaking worst. I legit thought I was making the whole thing up, and delusional to the point I had schizophrenia as it runs in the family. His friends even got in on it and had his back. Glad I dodged that one. Glad it worked out with you and your Amy. And now for the update. Before the main update, I would like to say thank you to all the supportive comments. And also, I am sorry to anyone with a Steve in their lives, and proud of the others who got rid of them. On to the main update. Steve found this post. Amy sent me screenshots, not sure how to post them. Someone made a TikTok video and he saw it. Not super eventful, but something new on the old story. I considered deleting it to avoid the drama, but I decided instead to include everyone on the news if they'd like it. I may still delete it if it becomes too much. I just don't want to give him the power over me deleting it. I'm a little frazzled, honestly. Next story. I caught my husband with his best friend, but I won't tell them I know. Original post. My husband, male 28, is wealthy and is providing me, female 30, a great life while I'm studying. I would never have afforded it otherwise. As a matter of fact, I was a barista before I met him and didn't even dare dreaming about starting college. Now I'm in engineering school. He pays for everything. We have a great house. I don't need to do anything but study and have fun. His best friend, female 27 from college, separated from her common-law husband after he cheated on her. She had no place to go, and we have a guest house. I never had anything to worry about with them because they have known each other for ages. I always thought if they wanted, it would have happened already. I was mistaken. I started having a hunch because of nothing in particular, just felt that they changed with each other. So I snuck on them after pretending to go to my mom's. Nobody knows that I know. But I couldn't let him touch me for 2 months, blaming it on the stress from school starting. Now we do get intimate because I don't want him to suspect me or get tired of me. I cried the first time he touched me after I found out. I wanted to vomit, but I blamed it on stress. Now I just let him. I try to think about other things and try to convince myself that it's just physical. I fake it sometimes when he notices me being absent-minded and starts saying, "Baby, come back to me." I'm in a race with time to finish school before he throws me aside for her. I also had IUD in without telling him. Nobody knows, not even my closest friends. Everyone thinks I'm the luckiest woman on earth, so loved and cherished by an amazing, successful husband. Nobody knows that I cry myself to sleep every night. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Wow, I'm so sorry. Thank you. It feels good to tell someone. So do you have an exit plan? Finish school and move to another city. Please be putting money aside as well. You need a nest egg to begin your new life. Other than that, so sorry this happened to you and best wishes for a fabulous new life. So, this woman leaves her husband because he cheated and then turns around and is your husband's mistress? What? I'm so sorry. Send all the positivity your way that I can. I kind of wonder if the mistress's ex actually cheated or if they divorced because of something she did, and she's just saying that to make herself look better. Like maybe the ex caught her cheating by walking in on her or something but doesn't have proof and he decided to divorce her. But maybe then she decided to get the word out first that it was the other way around and that he was the one who cheated, so that no one would believe him when he truthfully said that she cheated on him. That would explain why she's comfortable being someone's mistress now, despite supposedly having been cheated on. Who knows though? For the sake of your education, stay. Try to be strong during those 3 years. Once you can stand on your own feet, leave this man. And don't feel guilty about taking advantage of his money. He's literally cheated on you and still calls you baby, for God's sake. You deserve to get this degree and leave his unfaithful butt. Yes, he still calls me baby. Tells me love you every morning when I go to college and he to work. Text me I miss you from his morning meeting. Calls during lunch and text what I want for dinner before coming home. Like nothing has changed. I can't believe how he can be so two-faced. Is she still in a guest house? Yes, I don't think she's going to leave anytime soon, but she's talking about getting back with her husband if he proposed. 3 years is a long time. I can understand why you're holding out, but your description of your intimate life made me so uncomfortable. I wish you strength, OP. Please remember that nothing is worth your mental health or your sanity. Take stock every few months, reevaluate where you are, and reconsider your options. It may be worth talking to a divorce lawyer so you can weigh up your options. You may be eligible for alimony and might not need to stay with them to continue your education. Are there any grants or scholarships you're entitled to? Please look into other options too. Yeah, I would not underestimate at all what this could do to someone's mental health. This is the sort of thing that can leave long-lasting trauma effects on your nervous system. And that sort of stuff can then take a long time to heal from. And now for the update. Hi everyone. I'm overwhelmed by the people who reached out to me and thank you for all the advice. I might have done something very petty last Tuesday, and I still don't know how to feel about what I did. And what good it did. Actually, no good at all. But I think the comments here triggered something inside me that told me to stop hiding. I will have to wait and see if I blew up my future. God, I hope I didn't. As I said before, maybe not in the post, but in the comments that my husband's friend was trying to reconcile with her husband. She invited him for dinner in her guest house, and after dinner, they asked if they could join us for wine, and my husband was happy to invite them. They stayed for about 2 hours, and I had a lot to drink and wasn't talking a lot. When they came to the subject of reconciliation, I don't know what came over me, but I just mumbled, "Good, I'm happy you two are getting back together so she stops betting my husband." It didn't go well afterwards. My husband looked at me in shock, and I asked him if he thought I didn't know. I've known for months. The friend's husband kept asking, "Is this true? Are you serious? I can't believe you." My husband started crying and a friend started shouting, "You witch," and apologizing to her husband. When her husband left in anger, she rounded on me to yell some more. I told my husband that I was going to bed, and when I wake up tomorrow, I want her to be gone or I'm gone, and left them in the kitchen. I heard them yelling. Yesterday, she was gone. My husband wanted to talk and explain that it was nothing. He never meant to hurt me. He was so stupid not connecting the dots when my mental health was deteriorating. She meant nothing and he regrets it. He told me that he wanted to make it up to me and start couples therapy because we love each other, and we can overcome this with some help. So now he thinks we are going to work on our marriage. I don't know when he's gonna call my bluff, or what happens when his friend is officially single, as I heard that her husband has asked for separation of assets. I hope I didn't ruin everything because of one drunken mistake. You didn't ruin anything? They both ruined your marriage and hers. It's great he wants couples counseling, but you have a right to deny it. I wish you the best of luck. We'll see how much I've ruined. He has moved out to the guest house now because I told him I needed space. I can't control my emotions anymore. They ruined her marriage as well as yours for being a bunch of selfish idiots. It's amazing how you can blame yourself, and the fact that you do, and worry about the damage you may have caused for telling the truth about what they were doing behind your back, tells me you're a good person who probably doesn't stand up for herself enough. Huh, that was awesome. I hate when cheaters say it meant nothing, when that nothing was worth risking their entire marriage and shattering their spouse's heart. Him and his regrets can kick rocks. I think it hurts more when it means nothing. If my husband is going to destroy our relationship, I want it to be for his true love. I think it would be a little easier to accept and move on. I totally disagree with this, and I'm astonished that this is the general consensus here. Why? You really think I would feel better if it means something? Sorry, honey, I cheated on you, but it meant nothing. Sorry, honey, I cheated on you, but it meant so much to me. Yeah, no. I think what they were trying to say is that it's like him saying he broke your heart and betrayed you for no reason. Because it didn't mean anything or it meant nothing, he destroyed your relationship literally over nothing. Which is another way of saying he cared about a relationship less than nothing. Because at least if it was for a good reason like love, that would mean he at least cared about your guys' relationship and had a reason, no matter how crappy the reason is. But to do it for no reason? It's just cruel.
Update. Am I the a-hole for wanting separation and co-parenting instead of working on my marriage? Original post. When my husband, 29 male, and I, 27 female, decided to have a kid, I thought we had a happy marriage and a financially stable future. My pregnancy was high risk, and with health complications, I was going to end up using up a good chunk of my medical leave before the kid was born. So, we together decided that I'd quit my job and be a stay-at-home mom for a few years, and then go back into the workforce. After our son was born, I had PPD and severe anxiety. I had complications and recovery and no help from family. I am low contact from my family, and my mother-in-law had passed away, and father-in-law had no interest in helping. My husband expected me to be a full housewife as soon as we got home with a baby, and stopped helping with anything home or baby related because it was my job now. I was lucky to get involved with a mom's group that helped me a lot, because otherwise I was very lonely and stressed. When our son was 10 months old, I saw some messages on my husband's phone indicating that he was having an affair. I don't know when it started, but a lot of his working late was because of that. At that time, my mental health was not good, and I became scared that he'd divorce me and take my baby. My reaction wasn't even anger at him. It was as if my love for him had disappeared and was replaced by abject fear. I didn't confront him, and he didn't realize that I knew. I ignored it and tried to deal with all my issues myself while living in a constant fear of getting kicked out without my son. I know that wasn't a reasonable assumption and I have rights, but I can't explain why my head was stuck in that mode back then. I moved into my son's room, separated myself from my husband, but kept on being a good stay-at-home mom. The sad thing is that he didn't even realize that I wasn't living in our room anymore. He got home-cooked meals, a clean house, and got to play with our son whenever he was home and didn't care about me at all. When our son was 2, I got a job and needed to put him in daycare. My husband was opposed to that because he liked how things were and wasn't willing to pay for it. I went ahead with getting employed anyway, and the majority of my paycheck goes to pay for the daycare. The rest is my car payment and a very little bit for savings. Over the last few weeks, my husband has been home more and acting depressed, and I found out that his affair partner has dumped him. Now he's acting like the past 3 years were normal and wants intimacy and regular relations with me. I told him that our relationship was over when he stepped out of his marriage, and he can go start a different affair if the first one didn't pan out. He got angry about that, and accused me of being a cold-hearted gold digger. He put me through agony and hell, and I'm here because I love my son and want to be with him every day, not 50% of custody, so I am dealing. But he believes he's the wrong party here. I have become accustomed to the situation, and I'm okay with us living separately like roommates and raising our son. I don't care who he dates or loves or sleeps with. If things change down the line when my son is going to school and is less dependent on me, or if I fall in love with someone else, then yeah, I'd file for divorce. If he wants a divorce, that's okay too. I've consulted with a divorce lawyer already, and I know I'll get half of the equity in our house, half of his 401k, and either child support or shared expenses into our son's needs. Living in this house with our son is just more convenient for me right now. Now, he is arguing that because I didn't say anything when I found out about the affair, I have no right to bring it up now that it is over. My parents agree with him and say that since I chose to ignore the affair, it has no bearing in our relationship now. My husband wants to go into marriage counseling, but I don't see a point to that. The only two options acceptable to me are the status quo as is now or divorce. Does that make me an a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. Please divorce him. Him and your parents are a-holes. I can't believe your parents would want you to stay with someone who cheated. I've looked into it, but it's such a messy process and I don't even have enough time to sleep. On top of that, the complication of finding another place to live. It doesn't benefit me, I think, to do that right now. But if he does all the work, then I'll just sign the paperwork, with my lawyer of course. But starting it all myself feels daunting. I'm low contact with my parents because they are like this. He reached out to them and I know they're not right, but it's hard to ignore doubts. Would I be morally wrong if I stick around for another few years so I have 100% custody and also comfortable living while my baby's so little? He's saying that me not confronting him about this affair and wanting to be a co-parent, not a wife, makes me a gold digger. And him sleeping around on his wife with a new baby makes him an a-hole. Who cares what he says? Do what you need to do too and ignore the idiots around you. Good luck. Not the a-hole. That's not how it works. He wants to go to marriage counseling? Why? For what marriage? Dude checked out for 3 years, and now he wants to pretend like nothing happened? Even if he hadn't been cheating, to be in a marriage, you have to be there. He literally ignored you for 3 years, and he didn't even notice that you were gone. It also seems a bit weird of him to call you a gold digger when the only thing he ever actually pays for is the home of the kid. I agree with you about the job. I was in a panic when I started looking for jobs, and it still took me a year to get into something reasonable. My current job is hopefully a stepping stone back into a career, and I'm trying to plan long term. I've taken legal advice and there is no alimony in my state, and a child support calculator is not caught up to cost of living changes and inflation. I can get a decent amount of money in equity of the house and 401k split, but it is possible that I'll fight on that out of spite, and I may end up spending as much on lawyers fighting for it as I might get out of it. And even that will take 2 or more years to resolve. If I divorce, the amount of child support I can get will help with utilities and expenses, but only partially towards rent. I still need a job to afford housing and half of daycare. I'd love to go back to school, but I'm not able to fund it with a baby in tow. Thank you for the advice. What you are saying is correct, and I'll keep looking into college affordability. Now for the update. We have been having non-stop arguments. I tried disengaging and gray rocking, but that didn't help. He swings between love bombing and being around all the time to yelling and raging at me. I agreed to couples counseling with the goal of having a better co-parenting arrangement. He told the counselor he still wants the marriage to work out. We had some proper organized discussions, so that was useful. We were both asked to lay out our resentments. Mine was the years of long affair, obviously. I don't think anything beyond that needs to be said. But of course, there's the neglect, the lack of help, the absence from home, and that I have to pay for our son's daycare without any contribution from him. His list of resentments were a doozy. He says that I ruined his experience of becoming a father because I was difficult and neurotic. My painful pregnancy and medical complications were unnecessary drama to him. When we agreed that I'd be a stay-at-home mom till our son started school, he was envisioning a picture-perfect home with a beautiful wife and child to cater to him. He's upset the reality was nothing like that and is convinced that I tricked him. He's a selfish idiot, but he was also encouraged and enabled by people around him to talk this up, including my parents. I've always known that my parents didn't love me much, but I have come to realize that they resent me and look down on me. The first year of our son's life, he was a bit sickly. Preman had acid reflux, so he was clingy to me. He resents me for that too. Now that son's a healthy toddler that can run around and throw ball, is more interested in engaging with him. The whole thing was a pretty painful exercise for me. I restarted my own individual therapy. I had made myself numb to his actions. Grew up that way thanks to my neglectful parents. It was ignoring issues to focus on my son, but my husband did a good job of opening up all the scabs. I learned a lot more than I wanted to about his affair partner too. Now that I'm physically recovered, lost a lot of weight, ironically from stress and look well put together, I'm good enough to be his partner again? Anyway, I've filed for divorce. I think it'll take a year and then some for it to go through. I'll stay here and not move out till we sell the house and divide assets. Wow, how dare you have difficult pregnancy to spite your poor husband? The man is crazy. That's the worst case of narcissistic main character syndrome I think I've ever read about. People don't get sick because of him, they just get sick. And he thinks you caused the baby to get sick too? He's really imbuing godlike powers into you, isn't he? I rarely say this, but you definitely should divorce him. His egg is cracked. I'm only sorry he has to be around your son, because I don't think he's going to be a good influence. It's good that you've started therapy for yourself individually, because you deserve to have a loving husband down the road, but I'm concerned about how you choose men. I mean, your current husband is so out there that I don't get how you didn't see him coming from a mile away. Sometimes people pick spouses who are like their parents, even if that parent was abusive in some way. I hope you get to a place where you find a good guy, because you deserve it. And he thinks you caused the baby to get sick too. No, it was more like he thought the baby wanting to be with me and not reaching out for him was something I was training him to do. I followed a certain method told our son right after feedings to minimize discomfort from his GERD symptoms, and his dad just wouldn't get hang of it. So obviously, the baby wants to be with the one giving him comfort, versus the dad who wanted to bounce him and worsen his gastro pains. But my husband was determined to find fault, so that has to be my fault, not the lack of care from him. Your current husband is so out there that I don't get how you didn't see him coming from a mile away. That is something I don't understand myself. We were pretty happy together before I got pregnant. He was a helpful, loving husband, very excited about becoming a father. I think your soon-to-be ex-husband is a classic narcissist, and now you see his true face. The great time you had with him together was just a mask. He is now showing his true colors, and I applaud you for leaving him. Good job. And my nosy self is so curious what your couple's counselor said to all of his BS. Our counselor tries to put everything as a question instead of making statements. At one point, he asked him why he thinks my mother, who only saw me twice throughout my pregnancy, has a better understanding of my medical needs than the OBGYN who was treating me. He kept arguing that I was exaggerating the doctor's concerns, even though I had printed notes of diagnosis and doctor recommendations. My mother has a long history of avoiding doing anything for me by being dismissive, so things affecting me are never important enough or problematic enough to involve any work from her. My husband knows she's like this, but still ran with it as, see, even your mother thinks you were making things up. Last story. Would I be the a-hole if I didn't stay and raise an SA baby? So me and my wife have been together for 5 years and married for 1. We were trying for a baby, but we had recently stopped after she had a miscarriage. So I'll say about 2 to 3 months ago, she got SA'd. She was very bad off, would barely let me touch her and everything. I got her into therapy. She quit her job, so I've been the only income. I was very sad this was happening to her. Then 3 to 4 weeks ago, she told me she was pregnant and it was her attacker. I asked what she plans to do, and she said to keep it, and will hope I raise it with her. I said I wouldn't, and I don't think she should keep it either. My sister was the product of an awful relationship and no one ever really loved her but me. My mother used to beat her and starve her a lot. She said she wouldn't do that. I told her I'm not saying you would, but you may have some resentment towards the child and children can sense that. She got mad and said she wouldn't do that. I just told her okay. She asked again if I would help her raise the child. I told her to let me think about it. So I did, and I told her I would as long as I get it in writing, that if we ever, which I hope not, divorced, that I would not have to pay for that child. I would like the role as a stepfather rather than a real one, and that I would want my own kid as well a few years later. She said yes to the first 2, but no to the last one. Then I said it's a deal breaker. I said I understand you may not want to put your body through that again, but I want to buy a child as well, not an offender's child. I told her to think about it and let me know what you decide. She took time to think and still said the same thing, and that I will not make her have another child. I said okay, and that we can start the divorce process whenever you're ready if that's your final decision. Most people are on my side, but my sister thinks I should just adopt a child and divorce my wife. Would I be the a-hole if I didn't stay? Edit. So a lot of people are asking why are you going to treat this child like a step kid? The dad is white. My wife is Hispanic mixed with white, so it's gonna be a white baby. I'm African American mixed with Mexican and my dad is a darker Mexican. So yes, the child's gonna know it's white. Now for the top comments. She already knows if she loves this baby or not. Refusing to see a hypothetical baby as your own when you will be the only father in the newborn's life. Already treating the kid as less than. It's a rejection, since the child won't have another father. Stepfather relationships are for when a guy comes into an older child's life or aren't in their life consistently. So yes, if you will be rejecting the kid, you shouldn't be part of their life. But the way you described everything is like you are aiming at being cruel. It's your presentation, not your choices that I'm objecting to. the kid is going to very obviously know it's not mine, especially when it gets older like 9, it's going to know. So, the kid won't care as long as you have loved him/her. Have you been around little kids? If not, I'm going to tell you a story about me and my sister. So we look very different. She's a lot darker than me and has black curls. So when I was 14, she was 7. She didn't really understand that we had different dads, but she always used to ask how come my hair was a lot looser than hers and why I was lighter than her. I used to say genetics, but she used to see my dad's other kids sometimes, and she knew that something was up, that she didn't look like the rest of us. So by 8, I told her that she had a different father and I just told her he died. I eventually told her the truth, but still kids notice things like that. So her, at that young age, she cared why didn't she look like me. She wants to keep it. You don't want to be a part of this. No a-holes here. Not the a-hole if you leave us you don't want to raise a child that isn't yours. Not the a-hole if she chooses to raise the child of a man who assaulted her. You are not obligated to step up. Also, don't wait on her. You be the one to start a divorce. If you wait too late, they will automatically consider the child yours. My sister thinks I should just adopt the child and divorce my wife. No offense, but your sister sounds very stupid for this comment. Sister does not sound stupid. Sister sounds traumatized. You sound ignorant. Opie says sister was the child of an abusive relationship. Her mother resented her, presumably because she reminded mom of the abuser, and so mom starved her and beat her. Sister is likely empathizing with the child in this situation and is afraid that Opie's wife will model the same behavior her mom did. She likely feels the child would be safer with Opie, who wasn't abused. Not the a-hole. Another thing to consider is that, depending on where you live, the rapist might be able to apply for and receive parental rights, meaning he's back in both of your lives. Does your wife realize that? Also, depending on where you live, married couples have what's called presumed parentage. Basically, any child born within the wedlock is the husband's child regardless of rape or cheating. Some men have only been able to get their rights reversed, meaning they have no rights to a relationship with a child, but they still have to offer financial support. OP, get a lawyer. Any documents you all make up and sign, any verbal agreement is irrelevant. The law is typically clear on this. Not the a-hole. That is beyond sad, especially the cheating part. Our laws are so outdated it's crazy. There are literally thousands of men who have raised their children, found out they're not biologically theirs, had all rights removed, sometimes by a spiteful ex, not even through their own actions/court requests, and still have to pay 15 to 30% of their income into the child's early adulthood. The state gets federal kickbacks in putting men on child support. It's a hell of a system. Presumed parentage is 110% BS, and it's cases like these in divorces where men lose everything they have to a cheating spouse that makes men start disengaged from marriage, and it's so sad. As a married woman, I think DNA tests should be mandatory. My husband has ruined both our lives by asking me to double up his lunch serving for work. Plus updates. Original post. I'm on a throwaway because I still haven't fully decided on divorce, but I'm 95% sure on it. Me, female 26, and my husband, male 25, have been married for almost 2 years and have a 6-month-old baby. I work part-time only to supplement our income and to pay for the legal process of getting him documented. We are very fortunate that it seems it may be an easy process of maybe 2 years max for his residency, but now I'm going to cancel everything and ask for a divorce. My routine used to be I wake up 1.5 hours before him in the morning and make him lunch, and pack everything for him for work, and have his breakfast, coffee, and clothes ready for him to wake up, eat, get dressed, and head out within 30 minutes. He used to be satisfied with what I packed him. Freshly made chicken and either honey buffalo, lemon pepper, and salad, or some sort of chicken wraps, etc. Pure healthy food. I did this because I wanted to make his life easier and show him I cared and love him. And I've done this since we first moved in together more than 3 years ago. Well, recently I've had to start including dinner leftovers because he started asking for more food, that he was still hungry afterwards, which I thought it was odd because no matter if I work or not, he always comes home to prepared food. So even if he wasn't full, he would be okay. But I explained it off with maybe he's bulking or something. So I started including what I normally take to work, which has caused me to either go without lunch and having to wait till after work, or be late for work because I have to wait till the food is ready, and take some because I'm breastfeeding and can't miss eating every time. I leave food going such as in a crock pot or low heat depending on how long after I leave he gets home. Well, last week when I was packing his lunch, I found an unrecognized second fork in his lunchbox and was thrown off. So I asked, and he said he found it in the kitchen of his work and brought it home. Odd, why didn't he just leave it? I had noticed small changes in him that I gaslighted myself into I'm being insecure because I just had a baby, but this made a pit of my stomach turn. So a few days later, I decided to go to his work during lunch to surprise him with dessert and for him to see the baby. Well, that was when I found out why he wanted more food. His co-worker, who he told me no longer worked there, who I'd caught him talking too friendly to and I told him it bothered me, and I had him removed from everything and blocked on WhatsApp, not only still worked there, but was eating the lunch I freshly prepared for him, and he was eating the leftovers. I didn't cause a scene, instead took pictures and added to my folder of everything he's done before, from simple hoarding other girls' stories after telling me he didn't, to naked pictures of a coworker from a previous job he got fired from because of her. I drove home crying to pack my things when I got home. I took the bassinet and anything I'd need for the baby and my essentials, and went to my sisters and brother-in-laws and told them everything, and even showed him our conversations from WhatsApp, where he told me she no longer worked there. I normally text him through the day, so he started texting me and calling me to see if I was okay and what was for dinner. He was almost asking if everything is okay. And then he got to the house an hour earlier than usual, which also has me question if he's been lying about what time he gets off too, and saw mine and the baby's things gone. And my letter that he had 7 days to leave my house. My mom gave it to me when I was 20. And that he can communicate with my mother to see the baby when I'm at work, or whenever he wants to see her. Just let her know, and I'll drop off the baby with her. I, for the time being, don't want anything to do with him. And I'll have the printed photos of them eating lunch laughing together under the letter. Later that night, when I decided I no longer wanted anything to do with him, I informed the lawyer. We had a group WhatsApp chat with me, him, the lawyer, paralegal, and my brother-in-law, our co-sponsor, that I no longer was going to need his services. And then messaged the lawyer privately to ask if I could maybe move our contract and the money I've paid for so far over to his divorce and family practice. He said unfortunately no. There's some clause for something that if we decided to no longer pursue the case, we'll lose the money we've invested, and also that his immigration practice is a partnership with different people than his family one. But he will just leave our case open till we get a response for our next appointment from the government. And if we haven't worked things out by then he will cancel everything. Well, this caused him to go insane, because now if he doesn't get papers, he has to choose between his daughter and parents. To either risk never seeing his parents and family again, or never seeing his daughter again if he goes over there. He's begging me to the point I blocked him and everything. He's come to my brother-in-law's house and been told to leave or we are calling the police. Then later came back drunk with his buddies, who then were all scared off by my brother-in-law and his shotgun. I feel so lost, broken, and depressed. I also have security at work to make sure he doesn't show up at my office. My sister tells me to leave him but not to divorce, so he can never get with anyone else and get papers. But I can't do that to him. I've gone back home only to check on the house and see if he's gone. I'm still staying with my sister. And surprisingly, there's no damage to anything. It only his things are gone. So at least I feel a little relief in that. I'm not looking for advice. I know I'm not going back. There's no longer any trust. My mental health wouldn't be safe in that relationship. And I know I can't have my daughter grow up with that kind of relationship being an example. I just needed to put this out there in order for it to solidify in my brain and to be able to reflect that this is now a pattern. And he's gone beyond disrespecting me by now also making me make her food. I've been budgeting trying to make things last, sometimes eating less than I want to or skipping meals if possible. If a meal was heavier of carbs, I'd skip, since I should have enough for my milk supply. All to be able to pay bills, lawyer, his gym membership, and supplements. I lose out on rest and sleep because I ensure laundry in the house is kept spotless while the baby sleeps. I've basically gone from an independent, educated career woman to a 1950s housewife with a job in school, all because I blindly fell for this man. When I say I feel stupid is an understatement. Edit, some things I want to clarify I've been seeing in the comments. No, my sister isn't pushing me to stay in a relationship with him. She's telling me not to divorce him so that he can't just go find another woman to marry and use for the green card. No, I'm not taking anything from him that wasn't mine before we got married. Before me, he lived in a house with 7 other men, sharing a bedroom with a bunk bed, and he drove a 2000 Buick he had to unplug from the battery in order to use it again. That car got scrapped after the electrical went out. The car he is using is my car I got in high school that got me through high school, part-time or seasonal jobs, and community college. Also, my mom isn't dead. She gave me my childhood home because I was going to college and it's a 10-minute commute from the college. She gave it to me because I'm the last of the kids. All my brothers and sisters are at least 10 years older, and aside from my sister who's helping me, they all live in different states. I left home with a motorcyclist customizing, his gaming systems, clothes, and a guest bedroom TV, which was the only TV that was not mounted. Also, I'm not keeping his daughter from him. I just personally don't want to see him because I know he will try to give me a ton of excuses and try to make me understand him. He can speak to my sister or mom, and they will supervise him to see his daughter whenever he wants to. There is no battle in that. I don't think he's a bad father, but I just don't think my relationship with him is the example I want to give my daughter. Yes, I'm Mexican too. My dad came to the States and then later brought my mom and 2 brothers and 2 sisters. Took a decade to see each other again, which is why I'm so apart from my siblings and the only one born here. Now for some comments before reading the first update. I'm glad you are not seeking advice, because you are probably doing everything that this community would suggest. Moral of this story to your soon-to-be ex? Don't defecate where you eat. I would have stabbed him with that fork. You had me making your side chick lunch? I would have waited a day and packed a last lunch full of laxatives. Do not let anyone blame you for the green card issues he's going to face now. He made a decision to cheat on you, despite knowing that your marriage was what was getting him his green card in the first place. He made this mess, not you. Now he's the one who has to clean it up. As a daughter of immigrants, don't feel bad. I wouldn't. He's a grown man. He knows his actions have consequences. He just chose to ignore them. I was going to say the same thing. I'm first-generation Mexican-American. He knew what he was doing, and he didn't care. These are the consequences of his actions only. Now for the first update. Sorry it's been a while since I updated anyone. I've been busy sorting out my life, and this was supposed to be a throwaway, so I didn't expect it to blow the way it did, much less anyone actually want updates. I guess I'll start with the most asked question, which was if I loved him. Yes, I also got a full checkup, and I indeed had an infection. I was lucky I could treat it and be good without any further issues. This also confirmed his unfaithfulness, because as I mentioned, I had a baby not long ago, and during the whole pregnancy, they checked me for everything and they had done a full panel when I was 3 months postpartum, because I got a UTI and my doctor wanted to ensure it was only that. Did I talk to him to get a side of the story? Yes, when I went to tell him about the infection, I allowed him to speak his mind about everything. I only asked him for the truth, as there wasn't anything else for him to ruin. It was completely over at this point. And here's a basic too long didn't read. He never meant to hurt me. He loves his daughter and me. He enjoyed the attention. It was something new and exciting. It took his mind off the stress of bills, kid, my emotional states, and the general routine of his life. Life had gotten boring and she entertained him. I'm sorry that your wife organized your previously chaotic life. That's about what I believe to be true out of the couple of hours of begging, excuses, gaslighting, and even blaming. The rest was, the infection is a common one that happens because of cow dung everywhere, and because he goes out and pees outside without washing his hands or something. She doesn't like men. She was just one of the guys. Come on, really? I only gave her lunch that day. It was just the one time that she forgot her lunch, and she asked me because she saw I had 2 lunches. He would never stand so low to break his family. Why would I make such assumptions? Oh, so you knew what you were doing. Once I showed him my chart with my results, I explained how it's not a normal infection like E. coli that you can get because of poop, and it was an actual transmissible infection. I also explained that I hadn't slept with anyone since we met, and how my doctor explained that if I would have had any kind of transmissible disease, I would have known during my pregnancy, because not only is it common practice to test for all risks, but my high-risk pregnancy and preterm labor, she tested for all kinds of things to see if she could find a cause of issues, and afterward to find a cause of preterm labor. He admitted it shortly after that. He listened to me and saw my doctor's note. I'll add that I have the best OBGYN and she was amazing in listening to me and allowing me to cry, and gave me not only support during that moment with even having a nurse to take my daughter out for me to cry, but also printed me information and ensured me that a simple medicine will make it all go away and I should not see any more issues. Anyhow, he's staying at a dairy at some trailer the owner let him borrow. And for those who thought she would take him, it turns out she's engaged, and she is about to start her wedding and do an adjustment of status, meaning get her papers. Anyways, I'm back to living on my own. My baby's doing great. I have another office job lined up for January, and I have a few universities I've applied to. I'm currently going to community college online, but if I get into a uni, I think I'll move out of this town. My grandma said she would move with me to help me. Some days are long, like today it's late at nights and I can't sleep because I miss him. But I've been entertaining myself getting rid of stuff in my home to start a new slate and organize everything. I won't lie and say I'm doing great. On my days off, I don't get out of bed. My house is clean, but my bedroom has my laundry basket over full, and I brought out the gas blankets and pillows to use. People at work have noticed a slow pace in my work and I was offered time off, but I denied it. Although now that somehow the rumor of what happened has reached my job, I may take it. Thank you for all the support, everyone. Although I had a few people call me names and talk badly to me in my messages, I appreciate the other people who commented nice things and showed me support. I honestly would alert the girl's fiancé if what happened. He deserves to know what she's doing/done. Also, I'm happy you're turning this unfortunate event into a positive by going to school. Breakups like this are never easy, but you're gonna be fine. Divorces are expensive. Please notify her fiancé and save him financial trauma. Your life will be better off without your ex. Don't let the other young man ruin his life because of a lack of information. The affair partner's fiancé should likely get tested for STDs and infections too, considering where Opie got hers. Good you are taking steps to sort your life out. He is a scummy cheater. Good riddance. This time it was a disease that could be easily treated. Next time it will be HIV or something. You don't want that in your life. Tell the girl's fiancé. If anything, if there is a disease going around, he deserves to know and get treatment. If anything, he deserves to know he is about to marry a woman that contributed to ending a marriage with a small child. It could be just friends and fun for her, but there is no way she didn't know. She just didn't care and enjoyed free homemade lunches. Second update. Woke up to the husband's call. He apologized again. I'm still not budging, but he told me he was talking to some guys at work about free clinics or where they go when they're sick. And turns out that same woman has been sleeping with a few from there. I don't know if around the same time, but one of them told my husband where to get treated for free because he got it from her too. In his apology, which sounded more sincere this time, but I believe it's hers because it's only after he realized he wasn't special. To her, just another one of the guys she slept with. I say sincere because he didn't have many excuses. Instead, he seemed to hold himself accountable by saying he had won the lottery and messed up. He begged for a second chance because he doesn't know what came over him. He says he hates coming home to an empty trailer. He misses seeing his daughter the moment after work. What choked me up was when he said he used to feel more exhausted when he used to come home to us, because the baby would be excited to see him and would cry to be held by him, and during the week I would often leave the same easy meals made for him so he could eat, while I left to work and he started to feel tired of it. It was a boring routine of same foods during the week, coming home and having to watch the baby so I could go to work. That solidified to me that I don't ever want to find another relationship, much less go back to him. The routine I worked hard to put my family together was a chore to him. I literally dealt with a fuzzy, tired child till he got home, so she would mostly sleep and he would only need a single bottle for her. But even that was too hard? He said he would give up the world just to be back into his routine, because now he comes home to an empty trailer where it's just a bed and a fold-out table. He hasn't eaten his diet because he doesn't have time to prep. He started spending money on lunch because he doesn't have food made for him. He says he misses the baby so much that he now cries when he goes home. I told him I don't know what to tell him about that, but if he wanted to see the baby when I go to work, he can go see her at my mom's who now babysits for me. Knowing my mom, she makes food and she would never deny him food, so he can go over there and eat and be with the baby after work. But I had to go. I couldn't talk anymore. When I tell y'all I've never cried so hard in my life, it's an understatement. It doesn't help it's raining today. I think I'm calling off work today, and tomorrow talking to my boss about taking those days. Third update. I was logging off for a while, but I figured I'd update everyone to let you know she found my home and started harassing me now. I guess somehow her fiancé found out, and she thinks it was because of me. I feel like things are just going from bad to worse. I had to leave my car in my mom's garage and borrow my nephew's car, which my neighbor let me park in her driveway because she threatened to ruin my car like I ruined her relationship. Which isn't just hypocritical, but also ironic. Update. My 30 female husband, 31 male, of 7 years is really angry that I refused to quit my job to become a stay-at-home wife. Original post. I love my husband and he's an amazing man, but we have flaws like everyone else. We both aged out of foster care and met at a youth fulfillment program, basically a work camp that helps kids with no families learn the fundamentals of living, finances, certificates as needed. We were both 18 and stayed in contact after the program ended. He made it clear he liked me, but I was truly petrified of men at that point in my life due to past experiences, and rejected him a bit harshly. I reached out to apologize and we became friends. Then a year or two later, I saw he posted on Snapchat that he was in my area. I asked if he would want to go on a date so I could practice being comfortable around guys, and he agreed. He never made a move, never touched me, never made weird eye contact. If I said no, he didn't ask a second time, not even a suggestion. We went on these platonic dates for months with nothing happening. And then one day I asked for a hug and then asked for a kiss, and he asked me to be his girlfriend. We got married a year after, and our 7-year anniversary is around the corner. We agreed we would not even think about having kids until we were older, since both of us were the product of young parents. We've really just only focused on getting by on using as little money as possible and saving up every dime to buy a house. Thankfully, we got our house a few months ago, and we were both able to quit our second jobs, and for the first time only work regular 9-to-5s. Yay! I've discovered I really like gardening and baking, and I love having a real home. We have been discussing adding to our family by having a baby, and I feel very ready to be a mom. Scared still, yes, but ready. But my husband brought up how sad I would be if I had to quit, since I've worked so hard. I told him I had zero plans to quit. I would only take maternity leave. Plus, my company allows maternal and paternal remote options for 1 year after birth, so I can just work from home if needed. I know it's a lot to do with a newborn, but giving up the security of my paycheck is simply not an option. He told me this was what he worked for, to make our own perfect family opposite from what ours were like, and I was blindsiding him by changing my plans. I told him no plan has changed. I can have a career and be a mom. Plenty of women do it. He doesn't have to quit his job to be a dad, so why should I? He said it wouldn't work for a baby's needs, and I told him, okay, since I make more money than you do, why don't you quit and I go back to work remotely after healing from birth? That way, we have both hands on deck, and we don't have a severe loss of income, as I make $89,000 a year, while he makes $52,000 a year. He mentioned that if I trusted him fully, this shouldn't be a problem. I told him I trust him, but I don't trust our current economy. But I left out that I really do genuinely think quitting my job with no savings, wiped out by getting the house, and relying on a man is absolutely stupid. He had plans made previously with his parents and had to leave, so he said we would pick the conversation back up when he gets home. But he's very, very upset. Madder than I have ever seen him, and I don't understand why he just assumed I would quit. Not only do I not understand it, but it makes me trust him a lot less than I did yesterday. I have a bad habit of running for the hills when problems come up, and not gonna lie, this is making me really nervous. Thank you for reading all of this if you have. I'm open ears to what could be going through his mind or why is he thinking like this. Really just doesn't seem logical to me. He's been watching all of these videos of stay-at-home wives/girlfriends, and I feel like this is influencing him a lot. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Please hold off on having kids until this is resolved. $52,000 isn't a lot for a family of 3, especially with a mortgage and baby expenses. He isn't seeing the whole picture here. My girlfriend makes $55,000 a year, and I've been paying her electric bill, so she has some extra spending money. $52,000 a year ain't enough for one person these days, let alone a family. Everything has gotten particularly jacked in the last year or two. Just be honest and explain that it's not sensible for a woman to quit her job and lose her career prospects and possibility of progression and be fully financially reliant on a partner. It's just not. It's amazing that he is boiling this all down to trust me when he's making such bad decisions. I've met people like this, people who want unreasonable trust and confidence and constantly equate personal decisions with your trust in them. First of all, trust absolutely no one. That's not how life works. Trust only in yourself. Second, this has nothing to do with trust in the husband anyway. What if he gets laid off? What if he gets sick or has an accident? If a person really loves you, they won't ask you to throw away your career and be dependent on them. They would worry that this would leave you vulnerable. My dad was young and healthy when he was permanently and severely disabled in an accident. Had my mom not been employed at a time, our family would have been screwed. Her insurance allowed my dad to get decent care, and her income kept us from having to lose our home. Family would have stepped up, but still. I know that's a rare and random and upsetting thing to think about, but that has stuck with me my entire life. And my dad had wanted my mom to be a stay-at-home mom, and she told him absolutely not, which ended up being our saving grace. Protect your birth control and put a pin in babies for now, metaphorically speaking, and keep discussing this. Talk to a therapist if necessary to get to the bottom of this. Now for the update 4 months later. It's been a few days since he came home and told me he met a girl at work and she's a better woman than me, and that she has a son already and will be a stay-at-home wife or girlfriend or whatever. He gets his happy ending, I guess. He texted me right before I got off work and asked me to pick up food from one of our usual date night spots. I got home and noticed his car had boxes in it and a woman I didn't know. I tried opening the door, but it was locked, and she just looked at me. What little was left of our savings, he took, and both of our cats. I didn't see this coming at all. I haven't told any of my friends yet. His adoptive parents have been dropping me off food that I can't even force myself to eat. I haven't cried yet. I'm kind of still in shock. I wish I had a family to run to, but for now, the internet has to do. I haven't answered any of his calls or texts. He keeps trying to check in, ask if I'm okay. How the heck would I be okay? I never thought he would cheat. I asked him to promise if there was ever someone new, he would just tell me as soon as he knew. But they've been together at least 6 months. So while he was calling me selfish for not wanting to put in my 2 weeks and be a stay-at-home wife, he was dating her the entire time, planning a future with her the entire time. I feel stupid. I should have taken everyone's advice more literally. When I asked him to go to therapy, he wouldn't. His parents think he's having some type of mental break. I should have stayed afraid of him and avoided him. I should have chosen a better outcome for myself. I just feel like the same girl that no one wants to love anymore all over again. I know what he did isn't my fault. I know I could never stop him. And really, do I want a man who doesn't want me? Never. But that just doesn't stop it from hurting. You need a lawyer. He can't just take your savings or your cats, as that would most likely be considered communal property. There are rules that protect people in the case of divorce. And what's this? Quit your job and stay at home nonsense. If he was already dating and planning this, is he literally trying to make you homeless? That's a case with a divorce lawyer on its own. My now ex did something similar. He was trying to get me to sell my house and buy one nearby that I couldn't afford on my own, and wanted me to quit my job and stay at home. Note, he couldn't afford a house alone either. He was also cheating on me and preparing to move out. He was trying to make me homeless and got really mad when I didn't fall for it. What? What was the game plan? To get you to cover the new house with a chunk of whatever you had in your name, then break up and get a side piece to pay for it with him? If she sells the house and splits the unaffordable one with him, she's financially hamstrung, and he has more negotiating power since they have to dispose of the shared property together should they split. If she quits her job and stays at home, that means she has no money coming in, and he has more leverage to control her. If she stays at home, she is more easily isolated. Bottom line, he has control and the only income stream, and she lacks easy access to money of her own, a good lawyer, and social connections who might help her get away from him or who will point out how bad the situation is for her. I have a relative that went through this BS with her husband. This is textbook. It took my grandmother years to help get her free from him. He wanted you to be reliant on him and didn't want you to be smart enough to find out his affair. See if you can dig more info about the affair partner. Go nuclear on them both. You are still young. You can find a new love. Once I found out she was 20, I stopped caring. Their karma will come one day on its own. I doubt I would be able to stop myself from having to do a hard time in prison if I ever see them again. I remember your original post and I'm so sorry. I know it doesn't feel like it now, but I think you dodged a bullet here, in terms of not being tied with him with a child. Contact a lawyer ASAP and show documentation of him emptying your joint account. It was a joint account, right? And find out what your options are as far as splitting up assets. Hope Mistress likes ramen if she's expecting $52,000 a year to support her and her kid. Couple of geniuses over there. Let's be real, she grabbed onto him with her kid, and he'll leave her just as fast as he left Opie when he realizes he doesn't actually want what he thinks he wants. Mostly because he'll realize it's not what he thinks, or it's way too hard for him to do. His adoptive mom called me and is already coordinating for dropping the cats back off to me. He didn't know his new girlfriend is allergic. At least I get a little laugh already, lol. Jesus, I already knew this wasn't going to work out for him, based off the other info, but doesn't even know she's allergic to the pets he grabbed to take to her house? Also, she's 20. Who wants to bet she lives with roommates or her parents? Apparently, she was cheating too. She was still with the father of her child. I've thought about reaching out to him, offer condolences. His ex hasn't let him see his son all week, and she moved out while he was at work, so he was completely blindsided too.
Second update. Really want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart to all of the people who reached out to me with well wishes. Especially other spouses who experienced similar. It helped so much more than you could ever know. There's been a few things that have happened, and honestly I'm exhausted in every way possible. So the input from folks has really been useful in organizing my thoughts and keeping an open mind. I couldn't help it, but for days I compared us and wondered what the heck he could have been thinking. Until I realized she's a carbon copy of his biological mother, or at least the stories I heard about her, since she died when he was 5. I hate that I feel bad for him still, even after what is done, but we offered him support for his thoughts. We urged him to go to therapy. I even offered to pay for it myself, and he was too prideful. I lost both of my parents too, at an older age, with even more core memories with them, so it wasn't a boat he was in alone. But he chose to act like it was, and wallow in self-pity. He called me on our 7-year wedding anniversary, minutes after midnight, whispering apologies and saying he feels so guilty. I asked for what, and he just said, well, you know, what we're going through. I told him, no, it's what you're doing. We are going through nothing. I was abandoned by my husband, exposed to God knows what, while you were sleeping with her and coming back home to me. We were still doing it like every single day, so I made sure he knew just how disgusting I thought he was. Then he got mad and told me he only started cheating because I couldn't follow his lead. Sir, look where you led yourself. Our entire marriage I've pushed him career-wise. Heck, the job he has right now, I applied on his behalf. Meanwhile, I'm pretty sure he doesn't, or didn't even know what my full job title is. I pushed him to reach out to the adoptive parents when he started getting family obsessed, but neither of us were ready for a kid. He went on about how I broke my promise first, when I decided I didn't want to be a real mom by not quitting. That I was turning his adoptive parents against him because they are refusing to meet his new girlfriend. He blamed me again, and then had the nerve to say that this could all be put on pause if I can learn how to make decisions that benefit a family and not myself. I asked point blank if he was insinuating that we could get back together if I quit my job, and he told me, yes, I will always love you, but you make things more difficult than needed. I hung up and blocked him on everything. Spent the rest of the night hugging wine in the bathtub and wondering what the heck kind of person I had been sharing my heart with. The next day, he went public with their relationship, posting a photo to Instagram, and most of our mutual friends reached out, with my closest friends commenting less than kind things on a photo. As it turns out, he and his new girlfriend have been together for 7, almost 8 months. She is 20, her son is around 2. I reached out to her ex, the father of her son, who she had left to be with my ex-husband. She moved out in the middle of the day and took their kid, so he was just as blindsided, if not more, than I was. We met up and went for a walk, stopped by a bar, literally cried, laughed, hugged each other, sang songs way too loudly, and sobbed in public like a lunatic. But it helped so much. We also made sure to exchange evidence for any court battles. I'm a little iffy towards him for now, considering that they had quite the age gap. She was 17 when they met, and he was 26. He said she lied about her age, and they met at a college party, and then next thing he knew, she was pregnant. He gave her money to terminate, but she came back with baby clothes instead, so he tried to do the right thing and moved her in with him. Also, she's not actually allergic to cats, she just hates them. She also was very aware he was married and has been to the house multiple times. He admitted he had cheated on her before their son had been born, while she was pregnant, but that she didn't tell him she knew until after she had moved out with her son. He said he was still texting her every day, not just about their son, but also about possibly working things out. He wants her back, but she seems to be head over heels for my husband just like I was. I told him good luck, but yeah, not the direction I'm going in at all. This time, he made his bed and he will lay in it for good. Our chances of reconciliation are 0. I've never accepted someone back into my life after a betrayal, and it won't start now. At first, I wanted to make sure the divorce was going to be short and as simple as possible, even if it meant giving up some things. But after that conversation, I have decided I'm fighting tooth and nail for everything I can possibly get. I live in a no-fault divorce state, but my state does have special laws for adultery, meaning you can still sue for it here, and the divorce attorney I've consulted said it looks pretty good that I won't have to pay him alimony.
He also told me to look into every single banking transaction in my accounts, as he did not think they got an apartment on his income without some extra cushion, aka my money. And he was right. Last year, my ex-husband told me he got really into stock trading and if he could invest some of my money as well. Guess who was never doing any stock trading? And the screenshots he showed me were all fake / pulled from somewhere else, and he had been sending that money to his girlfriend or saving it for their new place. I've been pretty enraged since finding that out. He asked his adoptive parents to ask me to allow him visitation rights to see the cats after he had to give them back once he realized his new girlfriend is allergic to them. I relayed that he needs to first return my money and then take it up with a judge. I didn't think visitation was a real thing for pets, but according to my lawyer, it very much is. I officially filed for divorce yesterday, and he emailed me quite a colorful email about how selfish and bitter I am for not putting my pride aside and being so fast to file for divorce, and refusing to let him stop by the house to see the cats, that now he's accusing me of cheating. I read somewhere that you never really know someone until you're divorcing them, and I can truly confirm that is true. I felt like you guys deserved some sort of update considering how much support I was given. I can't share more details for now, but really thank you all again. I'm so proud of you for not taking him back. I hope you get everything you want in a divorce, and then block him on everything. Put cameras up at your place, because once the honeymoon part is over with her, I'm sure he will try coming back to you. I'm sure he was already trying to set the grounds for that by blaming you for everything he is doing. I hope you're very happy without him. Cameras are a great idea. I feel like him trying to come back to the house to see the cats is absolutely not about cats, but something else in that house he wants. I read your original post. You sound like you're doing okay. I'm glad. Honestly, and I'm just some internet stranger, but it doesn't sound like he has a clue what he's doing. He leaves you for the new chick, but he's angry at you for filing for divorce? He calls you on your 7-year anniversary. He wants to see your cats. Honestly, it sounds like he's having some sort of crisis, and this girl is not going to fix it. It sounds like he knows he's better off with you, but you won't fall into line and make him feel like a big man. So he left you for someone that does, but this is temporary. My prediction? I give his new relationship 5 years max. He'll realize he's messed up pretty soon and want to come crawling back to you at some point. This girl is just a band-aid on his bullet wound. You sound like you have your life together. Be sad for a while, grieve the loss of this person that didn't really exist, and then find someone amazing. I already see a nightmare coming for these both mistress and husband pretty soon. 20-year age is too early to make life-changing decision, and being homewrecker. She has no clue what this man, who is 11 years older than her, will bring into her life. And this man is 100% kinda influenced by some red pill stuff, like having a young submissive stay-at-home wife. So, like he said, he can lead his family. What he doesn't realize is now he has expense of 3 people with $50,000 salary including child, which is much more. On the other hand, will pay for his divorce. He doesn't realize that while her wife was making $80,000, she was standing next to him like a pillar to have a good life. This man is on path of self-destruction. Can't wait for him to realize that. Now I really wish you had saved that anniversary conversation and sent it to the affair partner. He wanted to dump her only if you learned your place. Sigh, that dude is going to lead them to bankruptcy, and they deserve it.